If you're an influencer and you are looking to grow your sponsorship program and increase your sponsorship revenue, then you're going to want to check out this video all about how to grow your sponsorship program as an influencer. Check it out. Hi there, Chris Bayless here, founder and CEO of the Sponsorship Collective, where we help sponsorship seekers grow their sponsorship programs. And every week we release a new video all about how to grow your sponsorship program. So be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to make sure that you get notified every time we have a new video. As an influencer, you've developed a brand and a following of people who look to you for guidance, for advice, for recommendations, for entertainment, or any number of reasons. That audience that you have worked so hard to grow and build is exactly what you are going to monetize in the sponsorship space. So let's dive in. First of all, let's talk about a really common mistake that many influencers make when seeking sponsorship. They use the term sponsorship and advertising interchangeably. Simply putting a logo on your website, a logo on your social media account, simply saying the name of a sponsor or thanking them, or a 20-second ad roll before your podcast is not sponsorship. This is advertising. While advertising and logo placement and simple product placement all have their place within the sponsorship mix, they are not in and of themselves enough to warrant those big sponsorship dollars. Sponsorship allows you to reach across the entire marketing spectrum. That includes product placement and advertising, but also experiential and branding and lead generation and all kinds of other opportunities that we call activation. Sponsorship allows you to reach across the entire marketing spectrum, deliver better return on investment to your sponsors than just simple advertising, and really drive up how much you can ask for when you're in a meeting with a potential sponsor. So throughout this video, I'm using the word sponsorship in the truest sense, as it's meant to be used to describe that holistic marketing practice and not just simple logo placement and basic advertising. The single most important asset that you have as an influencer is your audience. Sponsorship is all about audience and access to audience, and you as the influencer become the chief mechanism to connect a brand to their target market. Simply putting a logo on your website really does not convey anything about a brand, about how you feel about that brand, and it doesn't offer any benefit at all to your audience. You want to be using sponsorship to add value to your audience, to give your audience more of what they want. And in order to do that, you have to know who your audience is. We recommend at least 20 data points on your audience. You want to know things like demographic information, of course. You also want to know psychographic information. What makes them purchase? What values do they hold? How can you change their mind or get them to consider a new product based on value alignment and connecting with the audience in a way deeper than just defining or describing the features and benefits of a particular product. In addition to demographic and psychographic information about your audience, you also want to be able to provide information about preferred brands, coming purchases, and experiences that your audience is looking to have. And while we're on the topic of audience, you also want to make sure that you're capturing your audience data in multiple ways. You may have a really significant or sizable social media following, but if something happens to that social media account and you don't have the email addresses of your audience, you're at risk of losing your ability to monetize. Similarly, if you have a large email following, a large email database, but you're not connecting with your audience on social media or in person or in a variety of ways, you're missing out on monetization opportunities, but also putting your audience at risk. In other words, having a really significant audience in one platform is great, but you want to protect yourself by making sure that audience follows you on multiple platforms and that you're capturing email addresses. Email addresses are important when we start to talk about activation and contests and engaging your audience in measurable ways to sponsorship. The last thing you want to do is put yourself in a position where all you really have is a social media following, because brands and sponsors can just run their own digital marketing and target your followers without giving you a penny. Remember, we're not trying to emulate advertising. We're trying to prove to brands that we have a better opportunity than advertising. Once you know who your audience is and what they're intending to purchase and the values they hold, prospecting becomes very, very simple. You just look to the companies that are represented among your database. Then you can reach out to those companies and say, we've done some research. We know that your brand features strongly among our audience. Would you be interested in having a conversation? That is far more powerful than simply reaching out to a potential sponsor and saying, I have 1,000, 100,000, 1 million, 10 million followers. Would you like to put a logo in front of those people? So once you've developed and defined your audience and know who they are and the purchases they intend to make, that's when you can turn your attention to the brands that are targeting that audience. The outreach strategy is very simple. We always recommend reaching out with a very short 2 or 3 sentence email outlining 1 or 2 key points about your audience and inviting the prospect to have a conversation. Typically, we recommend sending 2 or 3 emails and then a phone call. In other words, you're trying to warm up that cold call so that they expect your call and recognize you when you pick up the phone. On our website, under the free tools section, we actually have some email templates for you to just copy and paste to send out to prospects. Notice that the first 2 steps in building your sponsorship program don't involve a sponsorship proposal or a business case. While you should create such a document, it is not required that you have one before you reach out to potential sponsors. Now, what should you include in a business case? For influencers, we recommend thinking media kit. You want to present yourself like a media opportunity, like a marketing opportunity. What's in a media kit? Media kits or business cases for influencers feature your total audience, your total following, your web traffic, your social media following, how many media impressions you get, any interviews you've done. You want to capture the macro level data of your total presence or media footprint. Traditional media, digital media, size of your database, open rate of your emails, etc. Then you want to take that macro audience data and break it into 3 distinct and specific avatars or buyer personas that represent the 3 biggest groups within your database or within your following if you don't have a database. The next step in a business case or media kit is to share some samples of how you've worked with sponsors in the past or some activation ideas of how you can engage your audience in ways meaningful to them while involving a brand. Skip the pricing, skip the grids, skip the gold, silver, bronze, and instead put a strong call to action inviting the sponsor or prospect to pick up the phone and give you a call at a phone number that you're going to answer by the second ring. The only goal of the business case or the media kit is to get your potential sponsor to engage with you, to have a conversation with you, and not to make a purchase. The other reason we structure our business cases this way is because on occasion you'll have a potential brand or sponsor who refuses to have a conversation with you first. Instead, they ask for a sponsorship proposal. By sending them a media kit or a business case that outlines your audience, outlines your activation ideas, outlines some case studies, and shows off your avatars or buyer personas, that structure, that approach is designed to get the potential sponsor excited to talk to you, but then it doesn't give them enough information to make a decision on the spot without you. You want to be involved in all of these budgetary conversations. You want to make the ask directly based on your goals, your valuation, and the activations that you're going to customize for your potential sponsor. Valuation, or how to price your opportunities, is too big of a subject for this one video. But in order to get a sense of what you should be charging, the question you must ask yourself is, what would my sponsor pay for the exact same exposure, awareness, lead generation, activations, branding, etc. without me? Not what would they pay your competitor, but if they put together their own marketing campaign, their own sponsorship campaign, their own lead acquisition campaign, without partnering with you, how much would it cost them? To answer that question, you'll have to do some research to determine what each of these things would cost the potential sponsor or the brand in the marketplace if they weren't working with you directly. Once you know that, then you know what you should be asking your sponsor for. Now, At the Sponsorship Collective, we use exactly that philosophy to do valuations for our clients, and we use a really simple software tool to complete a valuation in minutes. But if you're wanting to do this on your own, then the path you must go down is to research the cost of digital advertising, traditional advertising, lead generation, sampling, et cetera, et cetera. Again, once you know what a sponsor would pay without you, then you know the range within which you should be negotiating. Then your goal is to prove that your brand and your audience will be more responsive than if they took that money and spent it on advertising to a cold audience or reaching out to an audience that they don't have a warm connection to. Now, once you've got the meeting with a sponsor, you want to go into the meeting with nothing in hand, no sales material, no pitch, nothing to present the sponsor. You are simply going to ask them questions about their sales goals, questions about their target market, questions about what they're trying to achieve this quarter, this year, the types of partnerships they've worked on in the past that they thought went really well, examples of partnerships that didn't go very well. You don't want to enter this conversation with any assumptions, and you definitely don't want to try to sell anything. The only goal of a discovery meeting is to get the second meeting. And then in that second meeting, you may choose to pitch or present a proposal. But in that first meeting, all you're trying to do is understand what the brand is trying to achieve and whether or not it's worth having a second meeting. Again, on our website, under the free tools section, we have a list of 30 plus of our favorite discovery call questions. So if you're not sure what to ask in that first meeting, head on over to our website, sponsorshipcollective.com, and check out our free resources. You've had the meeting with the sponsor. Everything went really well. Sounds like you're going to continue to explore working together. What next? Remember the acronym BAMFAM. Book a meeting from a meeting. Do not leave a discovery meeting without your next meeting on the books. Book that meeting with your sponsor, with your potential sponsor. Establish an agenda, what you're going to discuss, the purpose of the meeting, who else has to be there, and what they're looking for from you in order to be able to make a decision. If you leave that meeting with the request from them to send them a proposal, and you do just send them a proposal, 9 times out of 10, you are going to be chasing this prospect for months and months and months. Remember, book a meeting from a meeting. If they're serious about working together, they will happily book that meeting. If they resist, then you may have happy ears. You may believe that what they're saying is send me a proposal, but what they're actually saying is please get out of my office. I'm not interested in working with you. Remember that everything you do in the sponsorship space should be customized for the brand, customized for your sponsor, and based entirely on the premise that all you want to do is engage your audience and make them happy. That's it. If you're going to run a contest, you want to make sure that the thing your audience will win is a high priority to them, something that they're really interested in. If you're trying to convince your audience to take a measurable action for your sponsor, like visit a particular web page and give up an email address or try a new product, the incentive to do so has to be really strong. And the way to make an incentive strong is to make sure it's based on what you know your audience wants, which is why we always start our sponsorship journey with audience data and understanding what really makes our audience tick. Sponsorship is not about you. It's not about revenue. It's about your audience. It's not even about the brand. If you are not engaging your audience and making their experience better through sponsorship, you probably shouldn't move forward with the sponsorship agreement. So the 4 key things to avoid when looking for sponsorship as an influencer: skipping audience research. You must know your audience and know them very well. 2, overpricing your offer because you don't know what your offer is worth. Frankly, you don't want to underprice your offer either. You want to make sure that you're pricing fairly so that you can prove that you've delivered to your sponsor based on market values, and you want to help them measure whether or not they received return on investment. The third mistake we see a lot of is not following up or putting yourself in a position where you must follow up versus booking that meeting from a meeting. Sending out a sponsorship package and hoping that a brand will read it, love it, phone you, and offer you money is a nice thought, but it doesn't happen. One brand told me that they received over 10,000 unsolicited sponsorship packages and media kits every month. No matter what you put in your sponsorship package, 1 in 10,000 are not great odds. And then the fourth thing you want to avoid is making promises that you can't deliver on. Again, promises must be anchored in audience data and delivering to your audience, but you don't want to charge your sponsor for something that you don't deliver on or that you can't deliver on. So for all you influencers out there looking to build your sponsorship program, know your audience, prospect based on audience data and audience research, build a media kit inspired business case, and don't send it to sponsors before you have a conversation with them. Always begin every sponsorship relationship with discovery, price yourself fairly, and always book a meeting from a meeting. And of course, make sure that you've captured your audience on multiple platforms to avoid the risk of losing one of those platforms and losing your revenue opportunities. All right, so if you're an influencer and you're looking to grow your sponsorship program and add more sponsorship revenue to the mix, then check out the comments below. I'm going to put a link to some free training that I put together called How to Grow Your Sponsorship Program the Right Way. And if you enjoyed the content, please be sure to give us a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, hit subscribe and the bell icon so that you get an update every time we release a new video. And remember, the sponsorship proposal does not make the sale. You do. Good luck out there.